Hello, my name is Latesha Renee, and I'm so excited and happy to have before me today the one and only podcast king, David Shands. Not only is he the podcast king, he is a multi-millionaire. He is a seven-figure podcast king. Am I
That's a
right?
fact.
You
That's a
are
fact.
an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur,
For sure.
and you also are an author, and you're an amazing conversationalist.
Yeah.
I would say,
Thank
right?
you. I appreciate it.
I,
Kind words.
I, well, you've earned it.
Yeah.
You've earned it, and I'm happy to have you before me today. And like I said, I came in contact with you in 2020 during the pandemic, and what connected me to you was, your way of carrying yourself and your motivation and your willingness to give. And then when I dug a little deeper, I saw that you lost both your mom and your dad,
Yeah.
and that resonated with me, being that I lost both my mom and my dad. And I think why it resonated with me is because I'm like, why does he have so much drive? How does he have drive after experiencing such a loss?
Mhm.
And in studying you, I
Why would
also,
that be your question?
why? Because I was in a down place, and I was in a down place for a long time. So my mom and dad died back to back. They both had cancer. My mom died 2012, my dad died 2013, and I was a caretaker for them. And in some sense, for a long time, I felt responsible for their death, although I know I'm not. But being that you're the caretaker for them and then you're doing all the work, you see them get better, and then all of a sudden they decline, it just weighs on you heavily. And it took me a long time to get out of that space of, subconscious, this is your fault. You could have did better. You could have did this, you could have did. But I know now that there was nothing I could have there was nothing I could have done to change the outcome of what happened to them. And everything happens for a reason. Then I came across another video of you expressing how your dad was a brilliant man. And everybody knows you as the podcast king. Everybody knows your story of the Cheesecake Factory, your Doritos, and also the many different things that you do, including the hot seat now. But what people don't know about you is the David before all of this. Can you share with me David before all of this? Who was David as a child? Who was David as a brother?
Well, it kind of depends on where you want me to start my story. Because my story has a bunch of starts.
Okay.
I could start when I found this journey of becoming an entrepreneur, I knew I was going to be a full-time entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a start. I
Mm-hmm.
started when I was a kid and I realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
That's where we want to start. When you were a kid, like how old were you when you realized that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? How did you even know what an entrepreneur was? Okay.
And I go down the street on a school day, and when I'm coming home, there's a lot of leaves on the grass in my neighborhood. I come home, my dad says, "Hey, take this rake. You gotta rake the leaves." So I have to rake the leaves. He gives me a rake, and I rake them for free. I don't know what makes me look across the street at my neighbors now and say, "I wonder if they want me to rake the leaves or not." So I go over there, knock on the door, ask them if I can rake their leaves. They say yes. I don't know what made me look across the street and say, I'm going to knock on the door to see if they will give me money to rake the leaves. I don't know. That's what I mean, that's a start of my entrepreneurship.
How old were you about that time?
Probably 7, 8 years old.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know. So, I mean, the question is, are entrepreneurs born or they developed? I believe they're both.
Okay.
But if you're saying like my start of entrepreneurship and what did I know, I don't know. I just knew I was going to go across the street and rake the leaves.
For 7 years old, that's a very logical way to think, wouldn't you say? Would you think, or would you say, you were influenced basically because of how you were raised? I know you said your dad was a very brilliant, brilliant man, and he always put you in a position of you had to think. You had to think, you had to think. It wasn't so much you were given answers, you had to come up with solutions. So it's like that was embedded in you,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
And I think that's a part of it. My dad teaches me to think, so I'm always thinking about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if we've never been trained to think,
Right,
we just do what we're told.
right.
And a person gets a job, and I like the fact that I have a job where someone tells me what to do. And maybe It's because you grew up in a household
Mm-hmm.
that told you what you went to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you grow up, but you're still that same child that always told, hey, do this, do that, do this. I don't teach my kids that.
You don't.
I don't tell my kids, do this, do that. I use a lot of, what do you think?
What do you think? You're carrying on the traits of your dad in a sense.
100%. My daughter watching TV, something happens. She's like, oh my gosh, the giraffe jumped over the fence. What do you think about that?
What do you think about that?
Why did he jump over the fence?
And that's a great way to go about teaching children. I'm a teacher also, and I'm always asking open ended questions. And it makes such a world of difference to their knowledge, to their way of thinking, and even for them to build on their own. You said you follow your dad's footsteps in that. I know you also have shared. You don't have high highs, you don't have low lows.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a balance, and you're okay with it. You're okay with not really having feelings because it keeps you protected.
for sure.
And some will say, oh, well, you're guarded. I guess you have to dig a little deep and say, well, where does that come from? So if you dig deep and you go back to childhood again, where was there an experience where David Shands, the little boy, needed some emotional validation? So say, for instance, for me, I hurt myself at school and the kids made fun of me. I come home and I'm sad and I share with my mom and my dad. That's okay, clean your face, you have more friends. So they didn't connect with my emotions. They didn't validate how I feel. It's just brush it off, you have more friends. So that's teaching me my feelings don't matter. And that's also teaching me when I needed that emotional response, instead of getting that, I got something else. And now it's teaching me to, oh, well, if my mom and dad did that, I'm just better off just keeping it to myself because if other people do it now, it doesn't affect me because the people that I needed the most to show me validation, I didn't get it when I needed it.
Yeah.
And subconsciously, I grew up like that. I grew up being guarded. I grew up being protected because of that experience. And I want you to dig deep into your childhood and think of one experience that you could remember, whether it's the first, but one that impacted you the most where you felt like you needed that emotional validation.
I can't remember a time where I needed some emotional validation because ever since I can remember, it wasn't really an emotional household.
Right.
So my parents never disciplined me out of anger.
Right.
My dad and my mom, they're like, all right, go. I know I did something wrong. Go to your room.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta sit in your room for a little while, work with your own thoughts, and then they come in and explain to me why they're about to beat me,
Mm,
and then they beat me.
very logical.
Very logical. Everything about my household was that way. My mom was emotional, but I never really saw that side.
I do.
Yeah, just never saw it. So I
I,
don't know when it
when it
started, or
started.
there's not a moment where I'm like, I really need some love right now.
Or is it that you blocked it out, or if it was so many years ago, you
Maybe
probably don't even
it may
remember.
be so buried.
And possibly you're still guarding yourself where you just don't want to dig deep to
I
that
know that
space.
it's not intentional.
Right, right. I
Like I
understand.
can't
You
remember.
can't remember.
Maybe it happened when I was 4. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
happened when I was 5. I just can't remember back that far.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at that point I sealed it.
I know for me, I experienced it, but not from childhood. I experienced it after my mom and dad died. Like after my mom and dad died, when people would come to me for stuff or need that emotional support, I'm looking at them like, and
Yeah.
I could feel like, Letitia, you're supposed to have a different response. You're supposed to be handling them differently, but it just wasn't in me.
Yeah.
And I started to realize that and say, well, where did this come from? And for me, it came from the fact that I had to deal and carry the weight of both my parents dying, and here you are bringing more baggage that, in my mind, I'm like, it's not even that important. But that's my perception.
Yeah.
But I realized that's not really it's not really kind.
Yeah.
See it from their point of view, and I started to be mindful of how I was treating people because I wasn't dealing with my own hurt and I wasn't dealing with my own pain at that time.
Yeah.
I know you shared a story, if you don't mind sharing with the audience, the story of when you played basketball and you won the basketball game. Can you share with us about that story? How your
Yeah,
dad
man,
reacted?
for sure. I gotta. And I got a bunch of stories like that, but
Okay.
we played. I was in a basketball league, and I was always pretty good at basketball. And we won the game. And I want to say I had the most points too. But he just noticed that when I go to my left side, if a defender is forcing me to lay up the ball with my left hand
Mm-hmm.
on my left side, I would lay it up with my right hand. And though I made it, my dad just didn't like the fact that I couldn't go to my left and use my left. And he just saw a handicap.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use your left. You're having a hard time using your left. So we get home and he ties my right hand behind my back and gives me a basketball in my left hand and has me dribble up and down the street with my left hand. I
Do you,
thought,
you don't remember how that made you feel?
yeah, it made me feel like, all right, well, but I won.
Did it make you feel like I'm not good enough? Like my
No, it
dad
didn't.
didn't see I wasn't good enough. My dad didn't see I played my best. Was I not good enough?
I didn't feel that I wasn't good enough. I did maybe question like, why can't you be happy for me winning the game?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I could think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I could have been because my dad was always like that.
Mm.
I can improve. I can get better. Not saying he never celebrated me, but he wanted me to get better. I remember one time he told me, if you are going to do something, be the best at it. He said, even if it's the wrong thing. He said, if you're going to sell drugs, go all the way. If you've decided to sell drugs, don't be a runner, be a kingpin. I'm talking about you get caught, go to jail for life. Because like we go,
Do it and do it right.
if we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We're not about to be peddling
Okay.
drugs.
Okay.
Let's go all the way in.
Okay.
These are some of the lessons that my dad taught me.
Okay. Did you get to meet your dad's dad
No, never.
or mom? Because I'm
No.
finding like what that would be categorized.
My mom's mom, yes, but not my dad's parents.
With that, what they would categorize that as today would be emotional neglect.
Hmm.
They would say it's emotional neglect, but it's not so much that our parents don't love us. It's just they don't have the capacity to show us support in that emotional arena. They'll support us financially and give us what we need, food on our table, clothes on our back, but that particular area, they don't have the skill set. And you'll find is because it's passed down from generation to generation.
For sure.
And
I
what
agree.
I respect and honor about you is I noticed that you said you're at a point where you're ready to feel feelings.
Yeah.
And that's a big step. And when I hear you say, you know, your dad used to always say, think, think, think. I don't know your dad personally, but I could imagine, like, if his spirit was here, he would say, like, son, you thought. You thought and you realized that my way in particular wasn't per se the right way to handle you, but I'm so proud of you for taking the steps to get ready to do something different. Because what they say, fathers are leaders,
Yeah.
and leaders are influence. And now you're in a position where you're influencing your three beautiful children. And you want to have the emotional capacity to handle what they bring to you. You don't want to imagine your son when he gets older, he wins the game, and you tie his arm behind his back.
I would do that.
Right.
But if I let things go, do I love him?
Mm. If you let things go, do you
If
love
I
him?
let my son live with a handicap, do I love him?
No, I'm not saying to let him live with the handicap, but you can balance it. You can balance it where you should still show the emotional support. Wow, son, you won the game. You played against this one, that one. I like the way you dribbled this way. I like the way you made a left. But here's some things that you could do to get a little better for even the next game. So
Yeah.
you balance it out,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think
right?
my dad wasn't, it wasn't, I got off and he's like, son, you suck.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still, he's still, yo, good game, man.
Yeah,
Proud of you.
yeah.
And he was so smart
He was.
and so amazing. That was the last thing he told me.
What?
That I needed, that he noticed that I'm going to my left and laying it up with my right
Oh,
hand. He's like, yo, I like your form, you're getting better, you're getting
oh, I
faster,
love
you're getting
it.
quicker. I like your handle. It's just one thing though. But I mean, it's like a kid gets all A's and one bad grade.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much you praise the good grades, you still,
You still got it.
the idea or the impression is wow, but what about all this good stuff? Why do we have to focus on the negative? So I
Mhm.
appreciate my dad for that.
You
I don't know
do.
if that's a lack of emotional intelligence, but I think some people are
I think we throw
too,
that word around so much,
right. I think people
right?
are too feel good
Yeah,
that I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to ruin the moment.
right. I think it's a balance. It's a balancing act, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's a balancing
100%.
act. How old were you when your dad died?
I was
Or what year did your dad die?
2010.
2010. That's the
That's
same year
actually
you
where I
started
started.
your
Yeah,
business, right?
yeah.
How did you balance that out?
I didn't.
You didn't.
So when you start a new business and you're getting some traction, you're busy,
Yeah.
right? Well, imagine my dad calls and I don't answer the phone, not because I don't want to talk to him, but I'm just busy.
Mhm.
And then I'll call you back. And I call him back next week or 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And this continually happens because I think he's going to be here forever,
Mhm.
right? I'm in the
Mhm.
midst of the grind,
Right. Right.
right? And I'm trying to explain to him all the things that's going on and how good things are going, and he's proud of me. And he just wants to talk to his son.
Mm.
I'm too busy.
Does that weigh on you now?
No, because of how I am.
Mm. A logical thinker.
I'm very logical.
So it balances out for you when you need it to, right?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It protects me 100%.
It protects you.
Logically, I lost my mom,
So like 10 years later,
the closest person to me at the time.
was your mom.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this was 2021, she passed. But I immediately leaned into my newborn child
Mm.
because my mind says God took my mother, but God was good enough to give me a daughter. And there's nothing I could do about my mother-in-law, my
Yeah.
loss of my mother. But what I can do is lean into the family that I have, which is an extremely logical way of thinking.
Very much so. But it, do you think it just helped you keep your sanity in a
Yeah,
sense?
I mean, it's just it's that's how I operate.
How you operate.
Now, there's certain things that you can't. It's not as easy. So I'm like, okay. The question is, do I like the way I operate?
Hmm. Seemingly no, because you said you wanted to change it.
I said that.
You mentioned that you wanted to change your highs to higher highs and your
I
lows
did
to
not say
lower.
that.
You said something that
I
maybe
said it
I'll get.
protects me.
It
I
protects you.
said for other people it's not good. Like
Okay.
when I go into my hole, it's not good for my wife.
Right, because they don't get to see your feelings. They don't get to experience your
But
feelings.
for me, it protects me.
It protects you.
I'm okay. I'm 100% okay with how I am in that space.
What is it protecting you from?
Hurt,
Hurt.
I think.
When have you felt hurt before that? You need the feeling of protecting yourself.
I
Where you
haven't. I'm
felt
just
hurt.
saying that's just how I've been my
You've
whole
never
life.
felt hurt?
I felt hurt, yeah.
Hurt if you.
Girlfriend cheated on me one time. It hurt. Things hurt, of
Okay.
course, but it's not throwing me into depression.
Okay. Only reason I said that is because how do you say you're protecting yourself from hurt if you've never felt hurt?
No, I mean, everybody's felt hurt.
Okay.
Everybody has felt hurt at some.
Hmm.
I um, don't feel it, or it doesn't last as long as it does for most people.
Hmm. Which in turn is a good thing for you, especially
I
in the
believe it's a
position
great
that
thing.
you're in now as a entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. It's like I don't have time for this monkey on my back.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
at the same extent, I appreciate the fact that you recognize that it does and can and will affect your family. So those are the reasons why you want to take steps to, all right, let me open up this emotional bag a little bit
Yeah,
more for my babies especially.
yeah,
So I appreciate that and I respect that so
good.
much. And I even saw like times when you seem to have date nights with your mom.
Yeah,
And that was
yeah,
a such a beautiful thing. And I saw one of the posts where she said that you were the greatest.
yeah. Oh,
That's,
my mom. Don't tell my brother, but he already
don't
knows
watch this.
I was her favorite for sure. He knows it.
Really?
He knows. Oh, 100%.
Were you the baby?
Yeah,
And
he
you were the
knows it.
favorite. What
Yeah.
made you think that?
It just is
She
what he
didn't tell
knows.
you that. Uh oh.
But she showed it.
She showed it. How did she
No,
show it?
I mean, my brother was the first one to tell me like, yo, you always showing favoritism, things like that. My mom loved her
Mm,
some me.
she
You hear me?
loved
But I've
you.
always been like with her and mama's boy and her
Mm-hmm.
and my dad. My brother was like, yo, I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah. So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I know you also had shared the reason why you're on the track or you were on the track to becoming a millionaire was somewhat for your mom
yeah, for sure.
because your grandmother was out of state, your maternal grandmother was out of state where she didn't recognize you and she didn't recognize her daughter anymore.
Yeah, she went through. Yeah, well, she went through dementia.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was tough, man.
and you
It was
realized
tough.
that you need to move a little faster so that you can do certain things for your mom and put certain things in place for your mom.
Yeah, for sure.
So your mom got to experience the entrepreneurial side of you
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. Things were good,
a little
but I
bit.
just, I wish I had more time to show her cool stuff and experiences. I wish.
Well, she did. She sees you now. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I
Do you
mean,
believe in a sense her spirit is with you now?
the what?
You believe in a sense her spirit is with you now. You know how people always say, "Oh, their spirit is with you," or "They're watching you." Do you believe that? You
I
don't,
don't.
or not? So it was a time I didn't believe that either. But I came upon a time when I didn't share this story much, but after my mom died, I was very close with my mom,
Mm,
very close to my mom. I was an adult when my mom died. So when she died, I've just been driving in a neighborhood where they had beautiful mansions in New York, and I'm just driving down the street. It's dark outside, and I wasn't trying to hurt myself. Let me just get that clear. It was this huge centurion tree, huge tree, and I see myself driving toward the tree. Why I'm driving toward the tree, I don't know. I was in the daze or whatever, and out of nowhere, I heard my name screamed, Latesha, and I swear,
mm.
what was that? I pulled over on the
I don't
side of the
know.
road. I looked in the back seat. I didn't see anyone. I don't know what that was, but for me, the voice that I heard was my mom. And for me, it was like, hey, what was that? And it gave me, maybe that's what I needed at the time to see that, Letitia, you can make it. Your mom is still with you in a sense. So that's why I asked you that.
Yeah, well, I haven't had that experience. So
Okay,
if
okay.
I do, maybe I'll have another belief. I don't know.
One more thing I wanted to bring up. I know Donnie used to always talk to you about manifestation. What are your feelings on manifestation now?
I just feel like you just go get what you want.
So I know 9 years ago you said, I'm not a millionaire now, but I'm going to be a millionaire because I
Yeah.
have to do X, Y, and Z for your mom. And you became a millionaire.
Is it manifestation, or I just work really, really hard to make it happen,
But you,
or was it God's grace that just
God's
allowed this to
grace.
happen to me, mixed with some work ethic and being?
What do you think it is? I think you're a creator. I think God gives you the gift
I've
to
worked.
create.
Yeah, I've worked. Yeah, for 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happens, good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
um, I believe it was designed that way.
Yeah. And what you put your energy toward.
Yeah, for sure. But I've, I've worked hard too.
You work hard.
So
Well, I said that to say, you said you were going to be a millionaire, become a millionaire. You have become a millionaire.
yeah.
And you also said you were going to become a billionaire. So,
Well, I said that, but I don't know how much I am even going to go after that. I don't know.
really?
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
at this point, it doesn't seem like you much have to go after it. You're making the steps and you're creating the atmosphere now where it's coming to you.
True. I told you I was going to come sit down and do this interview.
Yeah,
I didn't manifest it. I just walked over here and did the interview.
but you didn't manifest it. I did. If I
Okay.
show you in my book here, in my book it was to interview. That was the only. Well,
I
I
love it.
came to learn and stuff too, but I said no. I want to interview Shands because I
Yes.
appreciate the time that I spent with you last year, you and Donnie. I appreciate what I got. I appreciate when I see you on Fridays when you do the live. You share so many nuggets. It's like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
giving this away for free. You
Thank
share so many nuggets,
you.
and then when you have the guest on, like my D, it's like, oh, it's amazing. It's like a master class in itself. So I said, what better person to interview than you?
Thank you. Thank
And
you. I'm
and the
honored.
fact that you put this on for us and creating this atmosphere is like the law of proximity. It's like being in this environment, in this space with other entrepreneurs, with other people
Mm,
that look like me.
yeah.
It's so fulfilling.
Thank you.
And you
Thank
are an
you.
example of no, it can happen.
Yes.
And it's not that hard. And like you always say, consistency is the key.
For sure, 100%.
Yeah, and even this, me sitting here now, I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And then I remember what Myron Golden said about procrastination. Procrastination is what does he say? Procrastination is a symptom of anxiety. So procrastination is not a thing; it's a symptom of anxiety.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I am anxious. Like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna fumble my words. He's like, no, that's a symptom of anxiety. Shake it up. David may be nervous
For
too.
sure.
He doesn't know what I'm going to talk about. Let me go out there and do this. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you and I thank you for this time. I
Thank you
thank
for
you for
having me.
this space and I look forward to doing more work with you in the
Let's get
future.
it. Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good.